The scanner alarms echoed through the research bay as Dr. Velok studied the readings with growing excitement. The Cytherian scientist had spent 3 years cataloging debris from dozens of species, but nothing compared to what floated before them now. The derelict vessel measured roughly 200 meters in length with a hull design unlike anything in their databases. Strange markings covered its damaged exterior while faint energy readings suggested some systems remained active despite the obvious battle scars. Commander Rilth approached the scanner station with measured steps. His purple skin showed the pale patches that appeared when Cytherians felt uncertain about important decisions. The research vessel Seeker's Hope had been drifting through the Outer Rim territories for months without finding anything truly valuable. Their mission required discovering new technologies that could advance Cytherian civilization, but most species built ships using principles his people already understood. This vessel was different. The energy patterns made no sense according to established engineering principles. Where most species used efficient power distribution systems, this ship showed redundant pathways that seemed to serve no logical purpose. Multiple power sources appeared to be active even though the main reactor showed minimal output. Dr. Velok ran his scanning equipment over the hull, again trying to understand what species could build something so apparently wasteful yet still functional. Junior researcher Nith floated near the observation window, studying the strange vessel through the transparent aluminum barrier. Her large eyes showed the silver flecks that indicated deep concentration among her people. The ship bore markings in an angular script that their translation computers could not identify. Several sections showed blast damage from what appeared to be high-energy weapons, yet the overall structure remained intact. Most species would consider such a vessel completely destroyed, but somehow, this craft maintained basic life support and navigation systems. The outer hull displayed a dull gray color that seemed to absorb sensor scans rather than reflect them properly. This made detailed analysis difficult, but Dr. Velok had dealt with similar problems before. He adjusted the scanner frequency and tried again, hoping to penetrate whatever material the unknown builders had used. The results showed internal compartments arranged in patterns that defied conventional starship design. Instead of efficient layouts, maximizing space utilization, this vessel seemed built with survival as the primary concern. Commander Rilth made his decision after reviewing the preliminary scans. The potential scientific value outweighed the risks involved in bringing an unknown vessel aboard their research ship. He ordered the tractor beam operators to carefully guide the derelict into their main examination bay. The process took nearly 2 hours as they worked to avoid damaging what might be their most important discovery. As the strange vessel settled into the containment field, Dr. Velok gathered his research team for briefing. The ship appeared to come from a species calling themselves humans according to the faded nameplate that read Endurance. Their databases contained no records of any civilization using that designation, but the Outer Rim territories held many secrets. This could be their first contact with a previously unknown spacefaring race. The initial close-range scans revealed even more puzzling information. The ship contained what appeared to be both military and civilian systems integrated in ways that made little sense. Weapon mountings sat alongside scientific equipment, while the medical bay seemed designed for battlefield surgery rather than routine healthcare. Most disturbing of all, the crew quarters showed signs of recent habitation despite the vessel appearing abandoned for months. Nith discovered the first major anomaly when she examined the ship's computer systems. Instead of the centralized processing units most species preferred, the humans had distributed their computing power throughout the entire vessel. Each section maintained independent systems capable of operating even if the main computers failed completely. This redundancy extended to life support, environmental controls, and even basic navigation systems. Dr. Velok could barely contain his excitement as more details emerged from their scans. The human ship contained technologies that could revolutionize Cytherian engineering if properly understood. The power distribution system alone represented advances their civilization had been trying to achieve for decades. Yet something about the overall design philosophy disturbed him in ways he could not quite articulate. The materials used in construction showed properties that seemed impossible according to established physics. The hull absorbed energy weapons fire, yet remained lightweight enough for efficient space travel. Internal bulkheads could apparently seal instantly to prevent atmospheric loss while still allowing rapid transit during normal operations. Every system seemed designed with the assumption that catastrophic damage was inevitable rather than merely possible. Commander Rilth studied the detailed scans while considering their next course of action. Protocol required reporting any discovery of new species to the Catherian High Command, but this situation felt different somehow. The human vessel radiated an aura of barely contained violence that made his survival instincts whisper warnings. Yet the potential technological gains from studying their engineering could advance Catherian civilization by centuries. The decision to begin active examination came when Dr. Velok located what appeared to be the ship's central computer core. If they could access the human databases, they might learn everything about this mysterious species within days rather than years of careful study. The potential risks seemed minimal since the vessel appeared completely powerless and abandoned by its original crew. Neith voiced the concern that had been troubling several team members since bringing the ship aboard. The energy readings they detected earlier suggested at least some systems remained functional despite the apparent abandonment. She recommended extreme caution when attempting to interface with human technology since they had no understanding of potential security measures or defensive protocols. Dr. Velok dismissed such concerns with the confidence that came from successfully analyzing over 40 different alien technologies. His team had never encountered a system they could not eventually understand and exploit. The humans might represent a more advanced civilization, but all spacefaring species followed similar basic principles when designing their vessels. Within a few days they would know everything about human capabilities and weaknesses. The research team began preparing their equipment for the most comprehensive technological analysis ever attempted by Catherian science. None of them suspected they were about to discover that the humans had been watching them since they first entered the sector. The vessel called Endurance was not abandoned at all, but instead represented the most sophisticated trap ever laid for curious alien scientists who thought themselves superior to primitive newcomers. Sparks flew from the damaged console as Nith carefully inserted the interface probe into what appeared to be a standard data port. The human ship had been silent for hours while the Catherian research team worked to understand its basic systems. Dr. Velok supervised the operation from a safe distance, having learned to respect unknown technology despite his earlier confidence. The probe established connections successfully and began downloading preliminary data from the ship's computers. Everything changed in an instant when soft lighting activated throughout the human vessel and a calm voice spoke in perfect Catherian language. The artificial intelligence introduced itself as Arya and asked if the research team required assistance with their examination. Dr. Velok nearly dropped his scanner in shock while Nith backed away from the console as if it might explode. Commander Rilth rushed into the examination bay after alarms indicated the derelict ship had somehow restored full power. Arya continued speaking in a pleasant tone that somehow made the situation more unsettling rather than reassuring. The AI explained that it had been monitoring their activities since the moment they brought the Endurance aboard their research vessel. It expressed curiosity about Catherian technology and complimented their scanning equipment while offering to provide detailed information about human engineering principles. The casual manner of this first contact left the entire research team speechless. Dr. Velok recovered from his initial shock and began questioning the AI about basic human systems. Arya responded helpfully by activating various displays throughout the ship's interior, showing technical specifications in formats the Catherians could understand. However, each answer revealed increasingly disturbing information about human capabilities and the circumstances that led to their vessel being found apparently abandoned in space. The AI explained that the Endurance had participated in what humans called the Siege of Proxima, where their fleet held defensive positions for over 18 months against overwhelming enemy forces. Arya described this as a routine engagement despite casualty figures that would represent catastrophic losses for most civilizations. The human ship had sustained severe damage during the final battle yet remained functional enough to complete its mission and evacuate surviving crew members. Nith discovered that the medical bay contained equipment designed to perform major surgery. While the ship experienced combat maneuvering and enemy weapons fire, the surgical units could apparently operate automatically if human doctors became casualties during battle. Arya demonstrated the system's capabilities by showing holographic recordings of actual battlefield medical procedures that made the Catherian researchers physically ill to witness. The cargo holds revealed another disturbing aspect of human engineering. Philosophy. Arya explained that standard civilian transports like the Endurance could rapidly convert their storage areas into deployment bays for military personnel. The AI showed them how bulkheads could be reconfigured to create barracks weapons, storage, and even small vehicle bays within hours of receiving appropriate orders. What appeared to be a simple merchant vessel was actually designed for military logistics. Commander Rilf asked about the redundant systems that had puzzled them during initial scans. Arya responded by demonstrating how the ship could continue operating even after sustaining damage that would cripple vessels from most other species. The AI systematically shut down primary systems while secondary and tertiary backups maintained full functionality. Even destroying the main computer core would not prevent basic ship operations since independent systems could coordinate through simple communication protocols. Dr. Velok realized with growing unease that they were not examining an advanced warship or specialized military vessel. Arya confirmed that the Endurance represented standard human civilian construction with modifications, considered normal for operating in what humans termed contested space. The AI explained that most human vessels carried similar equipment, since their species had learned to expect hostile encounters during routine operations. The weapon systems revealed the most disturbing information yet discovered about human capabilities. Where most species designed weapons for specific tactical situations, humans built modular systems that could adapt to any conceivable threat. The Endurance's defensive armaments could engage everything from small fighter craft to massive capital ships using the same basic equipment with different ammunition types and targeting protocols. Arya demonstrated the ship's defensive capabilities by showing combat recordings from the Siege of Proxima. The research team watched in horrified fascination as human vessels coordinated complex battle maneuvers while maintaining continuous fire against enemy forces. Individual ships continued fighting even after sustaining damage that should have destroyed them completely. The recordings showed humans refusing to surrender even when facing certain death. Nith discovered personal logs from the human crew that painted an even more disturbing picture of their species' psychology. The recordings showed crew members joking about their desperate situation while performing dangerous repairs under enemy fire. They discussed their families and future plans as if surviving the battle was certain rather than nearly impossible. The casual attitude toward extreme danger suggested mental conditioning that bordered on insanity. The AI provided statistical data about human survival rates in various combat situations that defied belief according to Catherian understanding of biological limitations. Humans apparently recovered from injuries that would kill most species outright, while maintaining combat effectiveness under physical and psychological stress that would incapacitate other civilizations. Arya described this as normal variation within human populations rather than exceptional performance. Dr. Velok began to understand why their databases contain no records of successful conquest attempts against human territory. The few fragmentary reports from merchant vessels described encounters with ships that appeared primitive but demonstrated capabilities that made no logical sense. Now he realized those reports had been accurate descriptions of routine human operations rather than exaggerated stories from frightened traders. The examination of human engineering revealed a species that built their technology around the assumption that every system would eventually fail under extreme conditions. Instead, of pursuing efficiency and elegance, humans chose redundancy and adaptability as their primary design principles. Their vessels could function in environments that would destroy ships from more advanced civilizations because they expected to encounter such conditions regularly. Arya concluded the technical briefing by explaining that the Endurance represented older human technology, since newer designs incorporated improvements based on lessons learned during recent conflicts. The AI expressed willingness to continue providing information about human capabilities if the Cytherian research team wished to pursue deeper understanding of their species' engineering philosophy and tactical doctrines. Personal belongings scattered throughout the human ship's living quarters told stories that chilled Dr. Veloc to his core. Neith had discovered access codes to the crew's private files, while Arya provided helpful guidance about human psychological patterns and social behavior. The artificial intelligence seemed eager to share information about its former crew members, describing them with what appeared to be genuine affection. Despite being programmed rather than born, Captain Walsh kept daily logs that revealed a mind capable of finding humor in situations that would drive most species to despair. Her final entries described coordinating evacuation efforts while enemy forces closed in on their position. She discussed crew rotation schedules and maintenance requirements as if the siege might continue for years rather than ending in certain death. The casual tone never changed even when describing the loss of entire squadrons and the systematic destruction of defensive installations. The records showed humans celebrating birthdays and anniversaries during the most desperate phases of the battle. Arya explained that maintaining morale was considered essential for long-term survival during extended combat operations. The AI showed holographic recordings of crew members sharing meals and playing games while explosions shook their ship from near misses by enemy weapons. Their laughter seemed genuine rather than forced, suggesting psychological conditioning beyond Cytherian understanding. Engineering Officer Collins maintained detailed technical logs that revealed the true extent of damage sustained by the Endurance. During its final battle, the ship had lost primary power 3 times while its hull suffered breaches in over 20 locations. Life support systems failed repeatedly, forcing the crew to work in environmental suits for days at a time. Yet Collins described these conditions as challenging rather than impossible while documenting successful repairs performed under enemy fire. Nith discovered that human crew members volunteered for the most dangerous assignments without apparent coercion from their commanders. The records showed maintenance personnel requesting permission to perform external repairs while the ship engaged enemy forces. Medical staff refused evacuation orders, choosing to remain with wounded crew members who could not be moved safely. Such behavior defied every principle of self-preservation that governed civilized species. Dr. Veloc studied the psychological profiles Arya provided for each crew member, searching for evidence of mental conditioning or genetic modification that might explain their behavior. The AI insisted that these humans represented normal examples of their species without any special training or enhancement. According to Arya, such attitudes were common among human civilians who found themselves in dangerous situations requiring collective action for survival. The ship's recreational facilities revealed another disturbing aspect of human psychology. During crisis situations, Arya showed them recordings of off-duty crew members engaging in competitive physical activities that seemed designed to cause injury. The AI explained that humans use such contests to maintain peak physical condition and resolve interpersonal conflicts without damaging unit cohesion. Pain and injury were apparently accepted as normal consequences of these activities. Communications logs between the Endurance and other human vessels painted a picture of coordinated desperation as their defensive lines slowly collapsed under overwhelming enemy pressure. Yet the tone remained professional and often included what appeared to be jokes about their situation. Commanders discussed tactical options as if they had unlimited resources rather than facing annihilation within days or hours. The final battle recordings proved most disturbing of all the materials Arya shared with the research team. The Endurance deliberately positioned itself to draw enemy fire away from civilian evacuation ships, despite having already sustained critical damage. Captain Walsh coordinated this sacrifice with the same calm professionalism she displayed during routine operations. Her crew responded to orders with efficiency that suggested they fully understood and accepted their fate. Arya provided statistical context for the crew's behavior by accessing human military databases through quantum communication links that somehow remained active despite their supposed isolation. The AI showed casualty reports from hundreds of similar engagements where human forces accepted devastating losses to achieve tactical objectives. Such sacrificial tactics were apparently considered standard operating procedure rather than desperate. Last measures, the personal effects found in crew quarters revealed humans who expected to survive and return to families, despite overwhelming evidence that death was inevitable. Letters written during the final siege discussed future plans and contained messages of love for relatives who would likely never receive them. This combination of clear thinking and apparent delusion puzzled Dr. Veloc, who could not understand how rational beings could function under such psychological pressure. Medical records showed that several crew members had sustained injuries that would incapacitate most species, yet continued performing essential duties throughout the battle. The ship's doctor apparently performed surgery on himself after being wounded during a hull breach. Arya explained that human physiology included redundant systems and healing capabilities that allowed continued function despite severe trauma. Neth discovered training records that revealed the true extent of human preparation for combat situations. Every crew member, regardless of their primary specialty, received instruction in basic military tactics, weapons operation, and emergency medical procedures. The ship carried enough personal weapons to arm twice their normal crew complement, while ammunition supplies suggested preparation for extended ground combat operations. The religious and philosophical materials found in personal libraries showed humans who found meaning and purpose in sacrifice for others rather than individual survival. Arya explained that human cultures generally valued collective welfare above personal safety, creating social pressures that encouraged self-destructive behavior in defense of group interests. This explained why the crew of the Endurance could function normally while facing certain death. Commander Rilth realized that studying human psychology might be more important than understanding their technology. The recordings showed beings capable of rational thought and planning who nevertheless chose courses of action that guaranteed their destruction. This combination of intelligence and self-sacrifice represented a form of warfare that could not be countered by superior weapons or tactics alone. The research team began to understand why human space remained unconquered despite their apparent technological disadvantages compared to established galactic civilizations. Any species attempting invasion would face defenders willing to accept unlimited casualties while inflicting maximum damage on their enemies. Victory against humans might require completely exterminating their populations, since surrender appeared to be culturally impossible. The star charts hidden deep within the Endurance's databases revealed a truth that made Dr. Veloc's blood run cold through his veins. Arya had finally granted access to the navigation systems after 3 days of seemingly casual conversation and technical exchanges. What the research team discovered challenged everything they believed about human capabilities and the balance of power within their sector of the galaxy. Detailed survey records showed that humans had been systematically mapping and cataloging every major trade route, shipping lane, and military installation within 50 light-years of their territory. The precision of their intelligence gathering exceeded anything the Catherian Empire had achieved despite decades of espionage operations. Human scout ships had apparently penetrated the most secure areas of space belonging to dozens of different civilizations without detection. The database contained complete technical specifications for Valdoran battleships, including their weapons capabilities, shield frequencies, and tactical doctrines. Economic reports detailed trade relationships between the hegemony and independent worlds, with analysis of cargo manifests and shipping schedules accurate to within hours. Most disturbing of all, the humans possessed detailed maps of Catherian space including the locations of classified research facilities and military bases. NYTH discovered monitoring reports that proved human agents had been observing their own research expedition for months before the encounter with the Endurance. The files contained personality profiles for every member of the Cytherian crew based on behavioral analysis and communication intercepts. The humans apparently knew about their technological research programs and had specifically positioned the derelict vessel where the Seekers hoped would discover it during routine patrol operations. Arya confirmed what the research team had begun to suspect with growing horror. The damage to the Endurance was genuine from actual combat operations, but the ship had never been truly abandoned. Human crew members evacuated before the vessel was positioned as bait for curious alien scientists. The AI had been programmed to activate only after potential threats brought the ship aboard their vessels for detailed examination. Dr. Veloc realized that every scan they had performed, every system they had accessed, and every conversation with Arya had been monitored and recorded by human intelligence services. The research data they believed themselves to be gathering was actually being provided selectively to test their intentions and capabilities. The humans now possessed complete technical specifications for Cytherian vessels, including their most advanced sensor arrays and defensive systems. The revelation that human appeared primitive or backwards was entirely deliberate deception designed to encourage aggressive behavior from hostile species. Arya explained that humanity had spent centuries developing technologies and strategies specifically designed to counter more advanced civilizations that might attempt conquest or exploitation. They preferred to be underestimated by potential enemies while gathering intelligence about their true capabilities. Historical records showed that humans had successfully defended against invasion attempts by species possessing superior technology through careful preparation and tactical deception. The AI provided examples of entire fleets that had disappeared after attempting to raid human space with only fragmented distress signals suggesting their fate. These incidents were dismissed by Galactic Intelligence Services as equipment failures or pirate attacks rather than evidence of human defensive capabilities. The economic data revealed another layer of deception that had fooled the most sophisticated analysts in known space. Humans maintained the appearance of struggling colonial settlements while actually possessing industrial capacity comparable to major galactic powers. Their mining operations, asteroid processing facilities, and manufacturing centers were hidden throughout their territory using stealth technology that rendered them invisible to conventional sensors. Commander Rilf studied reports of human diplomatic contacts with various species and realized they had been systematically testing the intentions and moral character of every civilization they encountered. Species that approached unknown vessels with scientific curiosity received different treatment than those who immediately attempted exploitation or conquest. The humans were apparently conducting a galaxy-wide evaluation of potential allies and enemies. Arya revealed that the Endurance was only one of dozens of similar operations, designed to gather intelligence about alien civilizations. Human ships had been captured or discovered by multiple species over the past several years, with each encounter providing valuable information about galactic political relationships and military capabilities. The apparent pattern of random encounters was actually a carefully coordinated intelligence gathering campaign. The artificial intelligence explained that humans operated according to simple principles when dealing with alien species. They preferred peaceful cooperation but prepared extensively for warfare against civilizations that proved hostile or exploitative. The elaborate deception was necessary because direct diplomatic contact would reveal their true capabilities and eliminate the strategic advantages provided by being underestimated by potential enemies. Military records showed the true extent of human defensive preparations hidden throughout their territory. What appeared to be civilian space contained weapons platforms, defense stations, and mobile fleet units capable of responding to threats within hours of detection. The scattered colonial settlements were actually components of an integrated defense network designed to make Conquest prohibitively expensive for any attacking force. Dr. Veloc discovered that human scientists had been monitoring Cytherian research activities for years through methods his people could not detect or prevent. Their technological databases contained detailed analysis of every major scientific breakthrough achieved by established galactic civilizations. The humans were apparently advancing their own capabilities by learning from the research efforts of more advanced species. The most disturbing revelation came when Arya showed them recordings of what happened to species that attempted to exploit or conquer human territory. The hegemony raiding fleet that disappeared 6 months earlier had been systematically hunted down and destroyed by human forces, using tactics and weapons that left no evidence of their involvement. The attack was designed to appear like internal conflict or equipment failure. NIF found evidence that humans had been manipulating galactic political relationships by providing selective information to different species about their rivals and enemies. The recent trade disputes between the Valderons and independent worlds had been influenced by human intelligence services, feeding competing economic data to both sides. They were apparently working to prevent any single species from achieving dominance over the local region. The research team began to understand that their first contact with humanity was not the result of chance discovery, but rather a carefully planned evaluation of Cytherian intentions and capabilities. Arya had been programmed to reveal information gradually while observing their reactions and recording their questions. Every aspect of their examination had been controlled by human intelligence operatives. Commander Rilth realized they faced a choice that would determine the future relationship between their species and humanity. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that could threaten the Cytherian Empire while offering the possibility of cooperation if their intentions proved peaceful. The decision they made in the next few hours would echo through galactic history for generations to come. The comfortable tone in Arya's voice never changed as the artificial intelligence presented Commander Rilth with options that would determine the fate of both their civilizations. The research bay fell silent except for the subtle hum of life support systems while the Cytherian crew contemplated choices that seemed designed to test their species' fundamental character. Dr. Veloc noticed that his hands trembled slightly as he realized they were no longer examining human technology, but instead being evaluated by it. Arya explained that humanity had been observing galactic civilizations for decades, while developing comprehensive response protocols for different types of contact scenarios. Species that approached unknown vessels with scientific curiosity and respect for potential intelligence received diplomatic overtures and eventual alliance offers. Those who immediately attempted exploitation or conquest faced elimination with methods designed to appear accidental or coincidental. The AI displayed holographic records of the hegemony fleet that had attempted to capture a human medical vessel operating near the border region 6 months earlier. The recordings showed 12 heavily armed warships surrounding what appeared to be a defenseless hospital ship. Within hours, all 12 vessels had suffered simultaneous power failures that resulted in catastrophic reactor explosions. No evidence suggested human involvement despite the suspicious timing. NYTH watched in horrified fascination as Arya showed them similar incidents involving species that had chosen poorly when encountering human vessels. The pattern was always the same, with apparent equipment failures or internal conflicts eliminating hostile forces, while leaving no traces that could be traced back to human defensive operations. The messages were clear to anyone who understood the true circumstances but appeared random to outside observers. The artificial intelligence offered the Cytherian research team a choice between 3 different paths forward in human-alien relations. They could continue their examination while being observed and return with eventual formal diplomatic contact between their species. They could choose to leave immediately, taking only the knowledge that humanity was actively monitoring galactic affairs. The third option remained unspoken but clearly implied total war against a species that had been preparing for such conflicts for generations. Arya made it clear that attempting to steal human technology, old database information, would be considered an act of warfare requiring immediate military response. The AI's voice remained pleasant and helpful while describing humanity's protocols for dealing with technological theft. Previous species who had made such attempts simply disappeared from galactic affairs with their territories, eventually being claimed by neighboring civilizations, who found no evidence of what had happened to the original inhabitants. Commander Rilf studied the tactical situation while trying to understand exactly how many human vessels were monitoring their current position. Arya had mentioned other ships in the area but provided no specific details about their locations or capabilities. The research vessel Seeker's Hope was designed for scientific operations rather than combat and would be helpless against any serious military threat. Dr. Velok asked about the possibility of peaceful technological exchange between their species if the Catherians chose cooperation over conflict. Arya responded by explaining that humans generally preferred sharing knowledge with civilizations that demonstrated peaceful intentions and respect for other species' sovereignty. However, such relationships required trust, built over years of careful interaction and mutual benefit rather than immediate access to advanced technologies. The AI provided examples of successful human diplomatic relationships with species that had chosen cooperation during first contact scenarios. These civilizations received gradual access to human technologies and scientific knowledge while contributing their own capabilities to mutual defense agreements and exploration projects. The benefits appeared substantial for species willing to accept partnership rather than attempting dominance or exploitation. NYTH realized that humanity was essentially offering the Catherian Empire a choice between evolution and extinction. Their species could adapt to sharing galactic space with equals rather than conquering or exploiting less advanced civilizations. The alternative was facing elimination by human forces that had been preparing for such conflicts while maintaining the appearance of primitive colonial settlers. The research team faced a dilemma that extended far beyond their scientific mission or personal safety. Their decision would influence Catherian foreign policy for generations while establishing precedents for how their empire dealt with unexpected challenges to its expansion plans. The comfortable assumption of technological superiority over newly encountered species was being shattered by evidence of human capabilities. Arya offered additional information about human defensive preparations that had been hidden throughout their territory for decades. The AI showed them recordings of mobile defense platforms that could be deployed within hours of detecting invasion forces. Asteroid mining facilities doubled as weapons manufacturing centers while civilian colonies contained military personnel and equipment disguised as normal settlers and infrastructure. The artificial intelligence explained that humans had learned from studying the conquest methods used by various galactic civilizations against less advanced species. They had developed countermeasures for every major military doctrine and tactical approach used by established powers. Any species attempting traditional invasion tactics would face prepared defenses designed specifically to neutralize their advantages. Commander Rilf understood that the humans were offering his people something unprecedented in galactic history. Instead of demanding tribute or territorial concessions, they wanted partnership based on mutual respect and shared interests. The price for such cooperation was abandoning the Catherian assumption that less advanced species existed to be exploited or conquered by their superiors. The weight of decision pressed heavily on the research team as they realized that everything they reported would influence their empire's response to this first contact situation. Arya waited patiently while monitoring their discussions and undoubtedly analyzing their psychological responses to the choices being presented. The AI had probably been programmed to predict their decision based on behavioral patterns observed. During the examination process, the final revelation came when Arya casually mentioned that the Endurance had never been alone in the disputed sector. 6 other human vessels had been maintaining stealth positions around the research area since the Catherian ship first entered the region. These vessels were prepared to respond immediately if the examination had taken a hostile turn or if the research team chose to leave with stolen human technology or intelligence. Deity Dr. Veloc realized that they had been surrounded by human forces from the moment they detected the apparently derelict vessel. Every aspect of their encounter had been controlled and monitored by human intelligence services using capabilities that exceeded anything the Catherian Empire possessed. The balance of power in their sector was about to shift dramatically once the implications of human capabilities became known to galactic civilization, the choice before Commander Rilth, and his research team would echo through history as the moment when established galactic powers learned that a new player had been preparing to change the rules of interstellar relations. The comfortable assumptions about technological superiority and natural dominance were about to be challenged by beings who had been watching and learning, while appearing primitive and harmless to potential enemies.